Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. This time I'm bringing you a 2,000 point game between my Chaos Legion's army, the Pyre Legion, and an opponent's Vampire Count's army, a Bretonnian-themed Mussolini army. So this is what the opponent looks like on his side. Let's take a look closer. On the left side of his army we have a unit of Hex Wraiths, followed by some Dire Wolves, and then finally a large unit of Crypt Ghouls, and in that unit is a level 2 Necromancer. Moving on to the right side, we have a unit of Black Knights. In there will be a White King and his Vampire Lord, and then finally we'll see a unit of Skeleton Warriors. Here we see my deployment, and let's start on my right side. We have a unit of Flamers, then a unit of Screamers, followed by my 10 Corn additional hand weapon Chaos Warriors. In the center we have my Bloodthirster, then another unit of Warriors. This time they're Tzeentch and have Halberds. In that unit will be a BSB. You can't really see them, but Keku's the Pyromancer is right behind them. And then finally rounding out the flank are my 4 Dragon Ogres. The Pyre Legion win the roll-off to go first, and everything starts pushing across the board. I really like this right flank here. You can see my Dragon Ogres on the far right flank. I like how fast they move. I like this new unit I'm running that's 2x2. I think with those warriors in front, engage the skeleton warriors directly across from them, and then I have the dragon ogres kind of flank them in the side. I'll quickly deal with that block, and then I get to kind of help out the rest of the army, kind of envelop the vampire counts, and hopefully win that way. So I like how it's developing. This is what the board looks like before we go into the magic phase. The magic phase is really low, and as I mentioned before, I love it when this happens because you're guaranteed 1 spell. Unfortunately, I get greedy trying to cast 2, and I'm rewarded with failure. We go in the shooting phase. I shoot off 2 of the dogs with the flamers, but they fail their toughness test, and I do D3 wounds. So really good magic phase there, and not magic phase, but shooting phase, and we move on into Vampire Count's turn 1. In Vampire Count's 1, we have his army start pushing across the board. His Hex Wraiths are fairly aggressive. You can see here they're going to be right in my face, while everything else plays a little bit more conservatively. In the Vampire Counts, he gets a lot of dice, but we all know what he wants to do, and that's cast Dance Macabre. So I immediately dispel that, because I don't want his Hex Wraiths to get my backfield. He then goes for Invocation, which I just let through, in hopes to stop Raise Dead, but he gets that through also. So pretty okay magic phase, but I stopped the most important spell. And after that, he pretty much ends turn. So here we have a look at the board as we go into Pyre Legion turn 2, and I'm going to declare some charges. First, the Dragon Ogres are going to go into the Skeleton Warrior unit. I then will charge the Tzeentch Warriors into the newly raised Zombie unit, and I'll send my Bloodthirster up against the Vampire Lord in the Black Knight unit. After that, we go into the movement phase, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do about these Hex Wraiths, and then I remembered all demon attacks are magical. So I kind of have the rock to his scissors here, and I move them across the Hex Wraiths, and as you can see here, I do a ton of wounds. So many wounds, I'm able to actually move my warriors past the unit. So after that, we go into magic. So in the second magic phase, we really get to see how I have an advantage by having a level 4. It allows me to get 2 hexes off. As my opponent has to be a little bit more discerning on what spells he needs to try to stop. He chooses to try to stop a Chain of Blades from going off on the Dragon Ogres, and it doesn't even end up working. So we go into the shooting phase, and I'm able to shoot off that last Hex Wraith, and then we go into combat. Now, to be fair, my opponent told me everything that he had on his Vampire Lord, and I heard him, but I didn't listen to him. So what I was thinking when I was going in there was, Vampire Lord, very killy. He's going to kill guys in droves. So is a Bloodthirster. They're going to, hit each other. Somebody's going to come out on top. Who knows who? Well, it's easy to find out who's going to win that just by paying attention, which I clearly didn't. And so I sent my Bloodthirster thinking it would be a little bit closer than it was. It wasn't even close. He killed me right away. He did just enough wounds to kill me. I didn't make one war save, but that's not because of bad luck. That was because of the other Trickster shards. So he had him kitted out really well, and I didn't even have a chance. And had I even took a second and just considered that, I can definitely say I would not have sent the Bloodthirster in there. So, lesson learned, and I realize now that the Bloodthirster is not the be-all to end-all. So, we move on. This is over the board. He's going to obviously counterattack. He's going to have the Black Knight slam into the Tzeentch Warriors, and the Ghouls are charging the Khorne Warriors. It's going to be a pretty good matchup there, I think. I don't know what I'm going to do about this Vampire Lord, but maybe I can just kill everything else off, and maybe it'll come out to be a pretty close game in the end. We go into the second magic phase of the Vampire Counts, and I have no justification or explanation of why I played it the way I did. I stopped all the wrong spells. I don't even try to stop the right spells. I focus on these invocations, trying to stop them, and I let the rerolls to hit and the extra attacks come through. So we go into the combat phase, and I end up winning, I think, in all 3 battles. Here we have the Dragon Ogres just mess up this block, but of course at the cost of one of my Dragon Ogres, thanks to the rerolls. Over here, he easily kills a champion, but I do pretty well against the rest of the bus, and had he not had rerolls, it probably would have gone way better. And then over here, I again come up out on top, but I took more casualties than I probably should have. So it could have been a lot worse, but things are definitely looking a little bit more bleak. All my blocks are engaged in combat across the board, so I move my supporting units just around for future turns. We go into the third magic phase, and I want to get off Enchanted Blades. It could really help in any of the combats. Unfortunately, the first spell I cast fails, and then we go into combat because I have nothing to shoot at. So the Dragon Ogres kill off a bunch more of the Skeleton Warriors. We jump to the right side where the Khorne marked Chaos Warriors kill off a ton of Crypt Ghouls. And then we move to the center. The White King accepts my challenge for my BSB. They don't do anything to each other, but the Vampire Lord proceeds to just massacre the rest of the warriors. I lose by a lot. I'm on double ones. I fail, I break, and I die. And since he won that combat in my turn and the BSB died on his own without having to be chased down, he was able to reform, and now he's going to charge these Dragon Ogres. So in the magic phase, I stopped both of his attempts to cast Invocation. First one just with dice and the other one with my Dispel Scroll. Probably should have used that earlier in the game, but I still had it, so I used it. And then he gets off Raised Dead, which brings up some zombies, which he's just hoping to march block some of my troops. We go into combat here. The Dragon Ogres get reduced to 1 guy with 1 wound. He breaks, and in order to get those points still, he has to get his knights to chase me down, and that's what he does. In the combat between the Ghouls and the Khorne Warriors, I kill off all the Ghouls, leaving just the Necromancer, and then she crumbles away and her ashes are blown to the wind. And that brings us into Pyre Legion turn 4, and I'm desperate to kill this Night Bus off. I don't really have a lot of options in order to deal with them. So I bring the Screamers, hoping to whittle them down. Not a very good idea since it's Vampire Counts to whittle them down, but that's all I got. And then hopefully the Magic Phase will help me get lucky and I can kill them off. We go into my turn 4 magic phase, and I get off Plague of Rust on the Knights, and I put Enchanted Blades on the Flamers. With the additional +1 to hit, it doesn't really help me out too much, as I only kill a couple of Ghouls. So that's what they look like, and we go into my opponent's next turn. At this point, the turns are going to go pretty fast because there's not a lot of things that need to be done. He's going to try to cast, this is what the board looks like going into turn 4. He's going to try to cast a Dance and Invocation. I'm going to stop both, and this is where he's going to move up his Ghouls, and then we go to my turn. In my turn, I have an opportunity here to have my Chaos Warriors charge these skeletons and then overrun outside of the arc of the Knights. I try that. I don't make the charge, unfortunately. It wasn't that hard. I just didn't make it. So we go to the Magic Phase. I get off Enchanted Blades again on the Flamers. I move my Screamers over the Knights. As you can see, he loses 2 from that. I shoot them up with the Flamers, and I do quite a few wounds, as you can see in this picture. And then we move into his turn where he casts Invocation successfully and regrows some of those Knights. So that was a little disheartening, and that's what it is. So he needs to make a charge here in the flank. Not too terribly hard for him to do. He also charges the Skeletons in there. They both make it, and I didn't take a picture of it. We get in a challenge. There on the flank, I'm able to box out the Knights mostly with the champion there on the edge. And since he charged with the Skeletons, I was able to kill enough Skeletons to offset the overkill his Vampire Lord was about to do on my champion. So I reform, I get slaughtered. That's pretty much my turn there. I also moved my sorcerer between the zombies and his night busts just so he couldn't charge them. I use the zombies against him. I fly all my units really far away. He turns around, attempts to charge, doesn't make it, and that's where the game ends. So let's see how the final turns out. And so it's not really a big surprise here. The vampire counts won it big, and it was great to get this game in. I was thinking about it, and I looked over all my videos on the channel here, and I realized this is the first time I've ever played against vampire counts. So that's really surprising, being that we're almost done with 8th. It's been a couple years now, and I haven't played all the armies. So I think this might be one of the last armies I hadn't played, and I'm glad I got to squeeze that in before we move on to another edition. So I appreciate everybody's comments, likes, and subscriptions, and I should have another one out next week. So I apologize for not getting them out on a more regular basis recently, but I was waiting until I painted up that vampire counts character that you see in the magic phases before I posted this video. And I like to keep things in order before I go on to the next battle reports. That's why it took a while, and then of course the computer got water on it. So that's all done with. I have some battle reports lined up, and I'll have another one out next week. So thanks again, and see you guys later.